Tapping in.
Are we live?
Speaking about history, man, it actually leads me to this next topic of ours because Kendrick Lamar's relationship with T.D.E is about to be considered history.
Hey, y'all, come look at this.
So, I guess I want to start this conversation by what do you know of this?
What do I know of it? What I know, I mean, everything that we've read, right? If we're going through the if we're going through like what was said, I saw the link that K Dot had dropped to Oklahoma, the Oklahoma site, and
I think part of the point is that we all seem look and sound super silly trying to figure out what what that means. Success. But yes, the
Oklahoma site,
Oklahoma.
and the Oklahoma site, and then we have what Kendrick put out, essentially referring to that this is his last time in TD. This is his last album that's going to be on TDE, and from there is going to be pursuing, that after the last album, pursuing, and I quote, his heart's pursuits.
I know we got the letter. You know what I mean? Kendrick sent us an email. It was very heartfelt, letting us know that he's been, processing, watching the world evolve, collecting beach cruisers. But I know you a fan, so I know you know something. What's SZA been saying? You know what I'm saying? Let us know. Give us
Miles, I've reached out to SZA. You know what I'm saying? I did reach out to SZA. I dropped a hey in the DM. She hasn't responded back. But what we do know, and I'll keep reaching out. Not for me, but for the podcast. I want to let the listeners know, you guys, I am very ready and prepared. I will do everything I can to speak with SZA. I promise that, not just for me, but for the content of this show and the listeners. I promise you that.
All right, well, sure. We'll add you to the list then, if we can. If we may, we'll add you to the list of volunteers. I think there's only one or two blokes ahead of you. I started the list, so naturally I'm at the top of it. But I just writing my name, essentially, just on the paper, so that I knew it was mine. But I'll put your name right
It's
under
called
my name.
Miles's list.
I'll put your
It's
name right
called
under my
Miles's
name.
list.
Your name's right. You're right there. If for some reason I cannot be our SZA correspondent, then you got it, buddy. You got it. But
Thanks.
I am at this moment unable to say that I've been successful in being our SZA correspondent. I do listen to a lot of Reason though. Thank you for pulling up this letter. And what I'll say that I know about the background of this, right, is actually one of the last track I think on Reason's last album, New Beginnings, Window Cry. There's a surprisingly candid verse at the end of it where he talks about the situation with TDE. He talks about feeling like he's been benched. He talks about feeling like the label is a family, but they're now obviously, as any record label does, signed him because of his potential and his potential earnings, right? And so it was interesting because it was like, yo, shout out to TDE for letting that drop, but also it was one of these instances that's very familiar we've seen of artists getting at the label on the record. And so for me, as somebody who is a really big fan of Reason, a really big fan of the entire TDE camp, that was a moment of being like, oh, there's something going on here, right? And we hear nothing from Kendrick, but for this to follow, I immediately connected those two. So thank you for pulling up the letter. I don't know if you wanna give us a couple snippets of what he said, or
I mean, there's as Kendrick fans, we had a field day tearing this apart, right? This is the first that we've heard from K Dot since Damn, which came out 2017. So that's we're teetering now on almost 4 years without getting a full length project from K Dot. I think, as you said, combining some of the, let's say, some of the grievances that people on TDE had. I mean, you're looking at SZA's complained about. She didn't tell me this per se yet, but she has complained about albums dropping and being held up. You do hear there's a before the Rashad album dropped, a lot of people were saying that TDE is a dying label. I don't necessarily agree with that per se, but that perception that TDE, Punch, Tiff, all the people that started TDE hold music back and aren't very forthcoming with the way that they handle their artists and in the way that they drop their music. SZA has complained that, I mean, you know, if you think about the momentum that SZA had coming into this year with Good Days, with the other single that she had dropped out, those are smashes, and those can quickly be converted into an album. But all to say, it to me this confirms to a certain extent the trouble in paradise between artist relations and label relationships, especially with TDE.
And I want to get back to that. I want to get back to that, specifically artist and label relationships. But I knew you had the SZA T. I knew you did. You know what I'm saying? Thank you for sharing it with us. And actually, that's a great idea. If SZA ever made tea, I would also purchase that. But I digest. I want to also talk about why why we are going through this like noir detectives. You know what I'm saying? It's been 8 years, 17 months since we were first elated by the sounds of Kendrick Lamar. You know what I mean? It's Kendrick is important to us, I think, because we discovered Good Kid, Mad City kind of together. You know, that album dropped a couple like at a very important moment in our friendship. Even bonding over Section 80 to after we left school for getting the whole crew together to go to a Kendrick show. Kendrick has been a staple of our friendship and of our conversations of even this podcast of and as the yeah the GOAT MC right now of his generation, right? You know what I mean? There's a reason why he means so much to us, why we're so easily willing to go into a topic like this and bring this podcast back to his roots, of hip hop. But yeah, man,
Yeah,
I was the last thing I was just gonna say is that it's important that Kendrick would like, despite we have obviously a high opinion of him, but he's the first rapper to win a Pulitzer Prize. You know what I mean for his writing, right?
yeah,
It's incredible what he's been able to accomplish. To Pimp a Butterfly is being studied in college classrooms. For that artist to be silent during 2020, one of the most tumultuous years, one of the most emotionally confusing years where I think a lot of people could have used art, was interesting as somebody who had been so outspoken. And to think
yeah.
that now that TDE might have had something to do with that, I think adds another layer to this. And I wanted to get your thoughts on that.
Nah, definitely. I mean, and like I think referring back to what he written, right? It says, I spend most of my days with fleeting thoughts, writing, listening, and collecting beach cruises. The morning rides keep me on a hill of silence. I go months without a phone. Love, loss, and grief have disturbed my comfort zone, but the glimmers of God speaking through my music and family. Just reading through that, he does allude heavily to a mindset that makes it difficult to be able to engage with either with fan base and his passion for making art as comfortably as he'd like to, right? And so on one end, as a fan, you're just like, come on, K Dot, come drop that shit. But on the other hand, we've been protecting Naomi Osaka all of these months when she says, listen, I'm just not in the mental mood in order to be able to perform. And if we're gonna take this genre as a competitive sport that it is, then it's only fair at the same time that if when a dude comes to our best, regardless of how bad we'd like for them to drop music for us. It is no matter how bad we'd like them to drop music for us, it does sometimes. You do have to be a little bit more considerate just regarding someone's mental state. And as you said, like the few months that we had come through were very, very difficult. I mean, these months we went through COVID, people lost their jobs, people losing lives, and for us to all expect us to react the same, or just because you have money or fame that you're unaffected by the weirdness of what life is. It sounds like the our man is going through it a bit.
Yeah. Thank you for, recentering like his humanity as a part of this conversation. I think that's hugely important. Because yeah, if we're really listening to his music and we're really, about like learning from that type of stuff and that energy, then I think it's important to be like mindful of like that's what he talks about is energies, respecting people's, thinking about people's just care, thoughtfulness in general. So I appreciate you bringing it back to
Yeah.
that. You were smiling. What's up? Just because you were
I
switching the
was
video
switching the
around?
cameras around.
Yeah.
Switching the
Yes,
videos around,
you're
and I know the
you're a
YouTube crew
maestro
hates
over
that.
there. You're killing it. Yo, shout out to the YouTube audience. I hope y'all got to give it up. Snaps and air horns and stuff like that. Hold on again. Fizway providing a crazy experience, but we love you too, audio listeners. You know what I'm saying? We got nothing but love in our hearts. Again, for the roots of the underground. You know what I'm saying? Y'all that are on Apple Music, Spotify, we love you. But yeah, man,
For
we love
sure.
Kendrick. That's it. That's it. But yeah, man, I'm glad to. I was somebody who was certainly like, yo, I don't think we're getting any more albums from Kendrick, and I'm cool with that. I will treat his discography like fine wine and remove it from the shelf. When I need a little boost or pick me up. It's a great to hear that he's think that we're gonna be getting something soon. But I and watching the Kanye fans in the Donda debacle, I'm very much like, yo, cool. When it comes, it comes. I don't want to be a part of this wave of hysteria over when the record's dropping.
Did you see that Kanye is coming to Chicago to do Donda at Soldier Field? Are you going to be headed that way?
I will be nowhere near Soldier Field on that day, but yeah, good for all the people I guess a few thousand people will hear the album at a time. That's interesting. That's good for them. Good for him. But we can spend just as much, if not more, time talking about Kanye as we can about Kendrick, artists that I think have really influenced us, in our development as young whippersnappers, and even to just see them grow into men, and see hip hop grow and evolve and falter and stumble and shine. It's been really educational. But yeah, I'm feel like Kendrick feels about music with Kanye and talking about him. I'm just not in the right mental space to deal with Kanye. I would rather collect music from other artists and think about my family and our well-being.
No gracias, no gracias with the Kanye stuff right now. Owami dropped a link in our group chat of the Donda leak. Have you listened to the Donda leak?
I have not listened to the Donda leak. Is it hot fire? Is it Dylan?
I hear it slaps. I hear it slaps. Those are the words that I'm hearing. I hear it slaps. But
You
once
haven't
I get into
downloaded it?
the right mindset, I've
Okay.
downloaded it. I just haven't listened to it. I'm listening to all this other super gangster hip hop that's coming out that I just can't wait to get for us to talk about.